The desert sand was cool underneath the evening sky. A caravan of camels walked in formation underneath the eastern stars. Riding on the camels were three wise men. They were scholars and astronomers and had tracked the stars closely for any abnormalities. These wise men rode for weeks, traveling by night in order to follow the strange stars. Old scrolls and prophecies spoke of these stars. These stars was a sign of the new king of Israel, a sign of the Messiah. As they drew closer to Judea, they began to hear whispers in the streets. Apparently, a few lonely shepherds rambled on about their encounter with the angels and witnessed the newborn king of Israel. The wise men knew they were on the right track, even with a king that was born. Surely, the current king would know of his whereabouts. So the men traveled to the palace of Herod. The wise men were very wealthy, so Herod welcomed them into his court with an open hands. "How may I serve you?" he asked cordially. "Where is the newborn king of the Jews?" they asked. "We have followed his steps and have come up to worship him." King Herod winced at their words. He had heard rumors from the shepherds about a newborn baby. However, Herod was the king of the Jews, and he would not allow for a child to cause any sort of chaos. He hid his silent rage from the wise men and called for one of the priests. "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" Herod asked. "That will be Bethlehem, my lord, the birthplace of David," he responded. Herod smiled and pulled the wise men in closely. "My friends, this is a joyous occasion. Go to Bethlehem. There you should find the child. And when you find him, please send words back to me." Herod gave a slipping smile. "I would love to worship him as well." The wise men departed for Bethlehem. Herod watched them leave. As the door closed, his smile turned quickly into his cowl. He would not let any child, Messiah or not, threaten his power. Mary was tending to the baby while Joseph tended to the fire. They had found themselves a new home to stay in while Mary recovered and nursed the child. The air was cool outside, but their home was filled with warmth and love. Joseph kissed Mary's forehead and then bent down to kiss Jesus' nose. The baby cooed, and the couple smiled down at it. As the family shared a moment of tenderness, they heard a knock at the door. Joseph got up to answer and saw the three wise men draped in expensive robes and standing outside. "We had come to see the king," one of them said. So Joseph led them in. They saw him resting in the arm of his mother and bowed. Mary watched as this man of power and knowledge worshipped at the feet of her child. He and Joseph were beginning to realize just how special this moment was. The man wrote in a small chest. In it were three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Unknown to the wise men, these gifts would represent the royalty, divinity, and death of Christ. In these presents were hidden secrets to the life and death of God's chosen king. After giving the gifts, the men said goodbye and returned to their home. They did not tell Herod where the baby was because the Lord had revealed to them his cruel intentions. Meanwhile, Herod stood in paranoia. The heart of the ancient Pharaoh came upon him, and he came up with a cruel plan. "Captain!" he yelled. The captain of the city guards came into the throne in tension. Herod stood up. His eyes were red with rage. An ancient evil boiled out of his heart. "I want the head of every boy under the age of 2, and spare no one." So the guards spread across the nearby cities of Judea, ripping babies out of their mothers' arms. The streets ran red with heat and blood, and the Lord wept over Herod's cruelty. Joseph awoke in the middle of the night with a nightmare. Sweat dripped down his head and back. He looked quickly at his wife beside him. He tried resting in her arms. Joseph was panting. The Lord had appeared to him in a dream, telling him to flee with his family to Egypt. Joseph got up from the bed and looked out of the window. Screams could be heard in the distance. The sound of crying infants and wailing mothers echoed from miles away. Joseph knew that this is what he was called to do: protect Mary, protect the child. He gathered all their belongings and loaded them onto a donkey. Then, gently, Joseph picked up his wife and the infant in his hand, rested them softly on the donkey, and then led them away to Egypt. There they found refuge until Herod met his end.